If your body still feels on, even when the day is over, you're not behind and you're not broken. A lot of people quietly carry this experience. The workday ends. The noise dies down, the lights go low, but something in the body doesn't quite follow. There's still a hum, still a sense of alertness, still a feeling like part of you hasn't landed yet. Most of us were taught to think of this as a mental problem, like if we could just think differently or relax harder or distract ourselves better, the body would catch up. But the body doesn't work on ideas, it works on signals, rhythm, and time. You might notice this on feeling in different ways. A tightness across the chest, a jaw that won't fully unclench, a breath that feels shallow even when you're sitting still, a restless energy in the hands or legs, or a subtle sense of readiness, like your system is still scanning for what's next. None of this means anything is wrong. It usually means your nervous system has been working. All day, your body has been adjusting, responding to conversations, deadlines, responsibilities, decisions, emotional cues, interruptions. Even when you're calm on the surface, your system is often doing quiet work underneath. So when the day ends, the mind may be ready to stop, but the body may still be finishing what it started. Tonight, we're not going to argue with that. We're not going to try to shut anything down. We're not going to force calm. We're not going to tell your body what it should be feeling by now. Instead, we're going to start with something simpler and more respectful. Awareness, not the intense kind, not the analytical kind. Just noticing what's here without trying to move it yet. Think of it the way you'd check the weather before stepping outside. You don't try to change it, you just register it. So take a moment and gently check in. Where do you feel that on quality right now? Is it in your chest, your throat, your belly, your shoulders, your hands? And can you notice it without trying to fix it? Even if it's uncomfortable, the goal isn't to get rid of it. The goal is to stop fighting it. Because the moment you stop fighting your body, you give it room to settle on its own terms. This is where walking becomes important and why it helps in ways that sitting still sometimes doesn't. A lot of people already know that walking helps them feel better, but they don't always know why, and they don't always notice that how they walk makes a difference. Sometimes you walk and still feel wound up. Sometimes you walk and feel a little clearer. Sometimes you walk and feel like something finally clicks into place. That difference isn't random. There's a reason certain walks help your system settle more deeply than others. And it has less to do with distance or steps and more to do with how awareness and movement work together. In a moment, I'm going to share what a real study found when researchers looked at walking combined with a simple awareness practice, and why that combination reduced anxious energy more than walking alone. But before we get there, I want you to hear this clearly. If your body still feels on, you don't need to force it off. You can meet it with movement, you can meet it with rhythm, you can meet it with time, and very often that's where the shift begins. What you're experiencing isn't a flaw in your thinking, it's a signal from your nervous system. The nervous system's job isn't to make you feel calm or productive or positive. Its job is to keep you safe, and it does that by constantly tracking what's happening, both outside your body and inside it. When the day asks a lot of you, your system responds. It adjusts your breath, it adjusts muscle tone, it adjusts attention. It keeps you alert enough to handle what's coming next. That's useful during the day, but if that state doesn't unwind, it can feel uncomfortable later, especially in the evening or when things finally get quiet. This is where it helps to understand one simple thing. Your nervous system doesn't settle because you tell it to. It settles because it receives enough signals of safety, rhythm, and completion. Thinking alone rarely provides those signals. Movement often does. When you walk, several things happen at once, and none of them require effort or analysis. Your body creates rhythm, step, step, step. Your breath naturally coordinates with that rhythm. Your eyes take in changing scenery. Your muscles move through a predictable, repetitive pattern. All of this sends information to your nervous system that says, I'm moving, I'm oriented, I'm not stuck. That matters. But here's something most people miss. Not all walking sends the same message. If you're walking while mentally racing, scrolling, replaying conversations, or pushing yourself to walk it off, your body is still moving. But your system may not fully register safety or completion. It's movement without awareness. That's why some walks help a little and some walks help a lot. The difference isn't distance, it isn't speed, it isn't fitness. It's whether your attention is lightly connected to what your body is doing. This doesn't mean focusing intensely. It doesn't mean controlling your breath. It doesn't mean monitoring every sensation. It simply means noticing occasionally that you're walking, noticing your feet meeting the ground, noticing the sway of your arms, noticing your breath without changing it. When awareness and movement happen together, your nervous system gets a clearer message. It starts to recognize that the action is complete, that the effort has an end point, that it doesn't need to stay on high alert. But this is why walking can feel different from sitting still and trying to relax. Sitting still can sometimes keep the system focused inward, scanning for problems. Walking gives your system something to resolve. It's forward motion with a beginning, middle, and end. And when awareness is present, even gently, that motion becomes easier for your nervous system to process. You're not forcing calm, you're allowing the system to finish what it's been doing all day. In the next segment, I'll walk you through a real study that looked at exactly this. What happens when walking is paired with simple awareness, and why the results were different than walking alone. But for now, the key takeaway is this. Your body doesn't need convincing, it needs conditions. At this point, you might be wondering whether this idea, i.e. combining walking with simple awareness, is just a nice concept or whether it's been looked at more closely. That question matters because it's one thing to notice that something feels helpful. It's another to understand whether there's evidence that supports the experience. In one study, researchers wanted to look at exactly this difference. They weren't studying long retreats or intense meditation practices. They weren't studying athletes or experienced meditators. They were studying everyday people. The researchers compared two groups. Both groups walked, but only one group was asked to bring simple awareness to the experience of walking, noticing sensations, movement, and presence as they went. The other group walked without any specific attention instructions. Same activity, different internal experience. What they found was important. The group that combined walking with awareness showed a greater reduction in anxiety than the group that walked alone. Not because they walked farther, not because they walked faster, not because they pushed themselves, but because their attention was lightly connected to their movement. And this is a subtle point, but it matters. The awareness wasn't intense, it wasn't controlling, it wasn't analytical, it was simply present. And that presence changed how the nervous system responded to the movement. From a body-first perspective, this makes sense. When awareness and movement happen together, the nervous system receives clearer information. The system isn't just moving, it's registering the movement, it's noticing rhythm, it's noticing continuity, it's noticing completion. That combination helps reduce the sense of internal, unfinished business that often shows up as anxious energy. What's important here is what the study did not require. Participants didn't need to calm themselves. They didn't need to fix their thoughts. They didn't need to reframe anything. They didn't need to understand neuroscience. They simply walked and noticed that they were walking. That's it. This matters because many people assume that anxiety reduction requires effort or control. But this study points in a different direction. It suggests that when the body is given the right conditions, movement plus gentle awareness, it can settle on its own. Not instantly, not perfectly, but measurably. And that aligns with what many people experience in real life. Some walks leave you thinking, some walks leave you breathing, some walks leave you feeling a little more grounded without knowing why. The difference often isn't the walk itself, it's whether your system had enough space to register the walk. This doesn't mean awareness has to be constant. Even brief moments, noticing your feet, noticing your breath, noticing the environment, can change how the movement is processed. The key takeaway from the study isn't that walking alone is ineffective, it's that walking with awareness appears to offer something additional, a deeper signal of safety and completion for the nervous system. And importantly, this isn't about fixing anxiety, it's about supporting regulation, it's about giving your system a way to finish what it's been doing rather than forcing it to stop. In the next segment, we'll take this out of the study context and into real life. I'll show you how to apply this in a way that's simple, flexible, and realistic, whether you're walking in the morning, the evening, or somewhere in between. Now let's bring this out of research and into real life. Because knowing why something helps is useful, but knowing how to use it is what actually changes your day. The motional method is intentionally simple. Not because you're incapable of more, but because your nervous system responds better to clarity than complexity. This isn't a routine you have to remember perfectly. It's not something you can do wrong. It's a way of meeting movement with awareness, just enough to support regulation. Here's how it works. When you decide to walk, the first thing to let go of is the idea that the walk has to accomplish something. You're not walking to calm down. You're not walking to fix your mood. You're not walking to process thoughts. You're walking to move. That shift matters. As you begin, let your pace be natural, not fast, not slow, just honest. Then once you're already moving, bring in awareness, lightly. You don't need to track every step. You don't need to control your breath. You don't need to stay focused the entire time. Think of awareness like a gentle check-in that comes and goes. You might notice your feet meeting the ground, the swing of your arms, the rhythm of your steps, the feeling of air as you move when your attention wanders. And it will. That's not a problem. You don't bring it back forcefully. You don't judge it. You simply notice the walking again. This is important. The benefit doesn't come from holding awareness perfectly. It comes from returning to the body over and over. Each return gives your nervous system another clear signal. I'm here. I'm moving. This is happening now. You can use this approach in different ways. In the morning, it can help your system orient to the day without rushing ahead mentally. In the evening, it can help your body recognize that effort is ending, that there's space to settle. During the day, it can interrupt long stretches of tension or mental looping. And the walk doesn't have to be long. Even a few minutes of movement with awareness can be enough to shift how your system feels. What matters most is that the walk has a beginning, a middle, and an end. When you stop, pause for just a moment. Notice that the movement has finished. Notice how your body feels now compared to before. You're not evaluating, you're not scoring the walk. You're letting your system register completion. This is one of the most overlooked parts. Many people move constantly, but never give their nervous system a clear signal that the movement has ended. That pause helps the body integrate what just happened. And over time, this pattern builds trust. Your system learns that movement doesn't mean urgency, that awareness doesn't mean effort, that settling doesn't have to be forced. This is not about doing more, it's about doing what you're already doing, walking in a way your body can actually use. In the final segment, we'll bring everything together. We'll talk about how to carry this forward without becoming dependent on it, and how walking can become something you return to when you need it, not something you rely on out of fear. Before we close, I want to take a moment to place everything you've heard into the right context. Walking with awareness is not something you have to do perfectly. It's not a technique you need to remember in the right order. And it's not something you're meant to rely on because you're afraid of feeling unsettled again. It's a support, a steady one you can return to when your body asks for it, and set down when it doesn't. What matters most is not how often you walk, or how long you walk, or whether every walk feels grounding or meaningful. What matters is what your nervous system learns through repetition. Over time, it learns that movement doesn't always mean urgency. It learns that awareness doesn't have to mean effort. And it learns that settling does not require force, control, or correction. That distinction is important. You are not training yourself to calm down on command. You are not trying to eliminate anxious energy from your life. And you are not trying to manage your body into a permanent state of ease. You are giving your system repeated experiences of completion. Effort begins, effort moves, effort continues, effort ends. And when effort ends, the body is allowed to soften. Over time, this changes how stress is held, not because stress disappears from your life, but because your system becomes more familiar with moving through it, without bracing, resisting, or staying stuck. Some days, walking with awareness will feel clearly grounding. You may notice your breath deepen, your shoulders soften, or your thoughts slow. Other days, it may feel subtle, almost unremarkable. And some days it may simply feel like walking. All of those experiences are valid. This practice is not about chasing a particular state. It's not about achieving calm, and it's not about measuring progress. It's about building familiarity with your body's natural rhythms and trusting them. If you notice that your body still feels on at the end of the day, you now know that nothing needs to be fixed. You can meet that state. You can move with it, you can give it time, and you can allow your system to finish what it's been doing in its own way, at its own pace. If you wake up feeling unsettled, the same principle applies. You don't need answers before you move. You don't need clarity before you begin. And you don't need to feel ready. Walking can simply be a way to start. Gently, without pressure or expectation. As you carry this forward, keep it simple. Walk when you can. Notice when it feels supportive. Let it go when it doesn't. There is nothing to master here. Nothing to optimize, nothing to get right. Just something to return to. And if at any point you want more structure, something written, something you can return to offline, there are tools designed to support this experience quietly, without urgency or obligation. But for now, let this be enough. Let the movement complete. Let the body integrate. Let the day end in its own time. Thank you for walking with me.